Vacuum Stat Shop. We're doing work today. So, as y'all have seen in a previous video, this is my 93 Explorer. It's got supposedly, as of right now, I think 32,000 miles on it, original. That's what the title said at least. And yeah, I'm just going to say I can't leave anything alone. It's got to be big, it's got to be lifted, it's got to be badass. And that's just who I am. And I can already hear my dad, in my head saying, why can't you leave anything alone? Well, love you, Dad, but it's not in my heart to leave anything stock. So, in this video, I keep saying video. Why do I keep saying video? I mean, it's so repetitive. Anyway, I'm going to be putting a lift kit on this, and in the midst of that, we're starting with the back end first because I'm doing a spring over axle conversion. And if you don't know, Ford Explorers from 91 through 2001, I don't remember what year they went to independent rear suspension, but those that have a solid axle in the rear end, they have spring under axle, which means your axle tube's here, your spring's underneath, okay? And Ford did that because, well, they wanted to keep it off-road capable, I'm gonna say, but also keep it at a reasonable height for, all the soccer dads and moms and stuff like that, taking their kids back and forth to practice and just to be a good daily commuter. When I go spring over axle, I'm going to get roughly 5 inches of lift without having to change anything except the location of the axle perch. I bought brand new axle perches. You can get those from Tractor Supply or, any other off-road website, say such as, let me think here. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of websites you can get, axle perches, things like that from to do this conversion. And on these Explorers, it's very simple. All you got to do is, the easiest way that I've read and seen is to take your leaf springs completely out, leave your axle down, all right? You measure where your perch needs to be on the top of the axle, and when you do that, you bolt your springs back in. You can reuse, you're not supposed to, but I'm going to. You can reuse your factory U-bolts because really your dimensions have not changed. But the reason why I say you're not supposed to use or reuse factory U-bolts is because U-bolts stretch, okay? And if you do decide to reuse U-bolts, you're supposed to chase the threads on them. And when you chase the threads, that gives your nuts something to bite to, which, after saying that, it sounds really weird. You can do this swap for, I think I'm going to be in this probably $30, something like that. For the rear end, that is. You can reuse your factory shocks what you're going to do is on your rear sway bar mount, you are going to take your shocks and move your shocks from where they bolt to the spring plate to your sway bar mounts. And that will give you the appropriate amount of distance to bolt your shocks back on. And on the front, I'll bring it over here in a second, I'll show you we have just your standard, lift kit over here. I got a 4-inch front lift from a Ford Ranger, which will work on these Explorers. If it's, the pre-94, don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, but pre-94 Rangers that still had the twin traction beam front end. Okay, so here's what I'm working with. This is the front part of a lift kit for that. All right. I have my springs, my spring cups or holders, whatever you call them, I don't know, and all my bracketry and my pitman arm. Okay. Now, I have been told this bracket right here you have to be careful with, for the simple fact that when your suspension articulates, this specific plate has a tendency to knock a hole in the front differential. So what I'm going to do is I've got some 2x3 and 2x4 box tubing, and I'm going to make new bump stops for this. Okay, because the last thing I want to do is knock a hole in that little Dana 35 front end. So with that being said, that's another thing we're going to do on here. All right. And another thing is I'm going to be putting on my new hitch. Okay, so went ahead and got the Explorer on jack stands, got the wheels off, and starting out, I'm going to show y'all, you're going to need a 21 millimeter socket and wrench for the fronts and the back of your springs. Okay, down here for your spring plate, you are going to need a, let's see, what size is that? No, that's the wrong one. A Deepwell 18. Okay, that's good there. And for your sway bar, you are going to need another 18. All right, I'll probably use a shallow well on this one just to get it off. And to undo your sway bar from the mount, you're going to need a 13, which is right here. All right, this is for 91 and 94 Explorers. I don't know about, 95 to 01s or whatever. And to correct myself on the years of the Ranger front lift that'll work, it is 83 to 1997. Whatever has a twin traction beam front suspension. Doesn't matter if it's a Dana 28 or Dana 35 or whatever else they put in them. I don't remember. But a Ranger lift kit works just the same on an Explorer for the front. So, yeah, we're going to get tearing into this thing. The only thing I wish I wouldn't have done is get this thing undercoated, because this stuff doesn't dry. So I'm going to end up all greasy and stuff, which is just lovely. Anyway, let's tear into it. Okay, so one thing I forgot to add is you're going to need a 15 millimeter wrench. It's right here for the bolt head that goes on the shock. But I'm going to start this off by undoing the sway bar on this side, undoing the shock from the lower mount, and then I'll go to the other side do the same thing. So let's get after it. I am going to use an impact where I can, just to make my life a little easier. But I'd say we'll probably be doing things by hand quite a bit. All right. That sucker was in there pretty good. All right, that's an 18. We'll do this. Grab a hammer real quick. This may not work how I want it to. Alright, there we go. Alright. I have the bottom shot bolt out. And I'm probably going to leave the sway bar bracket attached for the time being, but it will come off because you're really not going to need it. And we're going to attach our upper shock mount to the upper sway bar mount. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. I should have waited to get this thing undercoated. Anyway, we're good on this side pretty much. And we're going to get ready and move over to the other side. But I'm going to finish driving these out. Okay, now we're going to get these bolts out of the springs. You know, you got your front one here, and the light's probably going to glare, but you've got that back right there. And I'm going to remove the top bolt out of that. One thing I want to show y'all is I always keep a jack underneath the center of the diff. Okay, that way it's, you know, kind of sort of balanced, and you can adjust your up and down as you need it. Therefore, you're probably not going to have any, you know, major issues. But at the same time, all right, I have not done a spraying over conversion. Okay, I haven't done one because everything that I've owned previously has been spraying over. So this is kind of a learning experience for me, and I'm just kind of, you know, going through the motions, trying to show y'all what needs to be done and how you should do it. And there's probably a couple things that you should unhook. I'm not 100% sure yet, but when we get to that moment, I will definitely touch on that. All right, so got our 21mm socket on, 21mm wrench. For this one, on the driver's side, you're probably going to have to use your open end because your fuel tank's in the way. Now if I can just get on it. Where are you at? There you are. Alright. And just hammer on that reverse. That's what I thought. There's our nut. I just played myself. This is a flag nut, and it's very hot, but I didn't know I didn't need a wrench on that. So hopefully y'all are going to watch this before you actually go through and convert your rear end. But yeah, the nut on the front spring perch is a flag nut. I think that's what they're called anyway. Let's go to the back. Okay, so this one here, you're probably not going to be able to get an impact in because of, you know, the tight space. So I'm going to do this by hand because y'all probably don't want to see me struggle for 5 minutes. But it's very simple. All it is just, you know, turning a ratchet. So I will come back to y'all when I get it out. And since it's basically the same thing on the other side, I'm probably not going to record that just to, you know, make sure my video doesn't run too long. But essentially it's the same thing. So I'll catch up with y'all when I'm ready to get the bolts out of the hangers and drop the springs from, stupid lights blaring, from the spring pads themselves. So, all right, catch y'all in a second. All right, so as you can see, I got the spring completely out. We are good to go. So the next step is I'm going to lower this axle down with the jack. I'm going to get my new spring perch set where I need it. Bolt the spring back in, get everything, you know, situated where it needs to be. And then we're going to weld, you know, on each side of the spring perch. Springs are a lot heavier than I thought they were. Alrighty. Okay, so now I have, there we go, there's a flash. Leaf spring bolted back in loosely. I have not put the nuts back on it. And since dropping this, I have to move the axle back to get it where it needs to be. I'm doing this one side at a time simply because it's going to make it easier, in my opinion. And by that, I mean making it easier. There we go. We don't have a glare now. We're going to be able to get everything, you know, bolted up, snugged up, and then we're going to be able to set our pinion angle, if we need to, that is, and make everything correct. I did loosen the passenger side U-bolts and stuff like that, so I could get a little extra drop when I go to put the driver's side in. That seemed to work out pretty good, but now it's just the matter of pulling the axle back and getting a new spring perch in. All right, so here's what I got done. Flip y'all around and show you real quick. I have everything put back in. What I did is I originally tacked that perch on, but I decided that was a bad idea. And so, you know, I knocked it back off, put everything back together, and this spring plate, all right, we're on the driver's side right now. This spring plate is from the passenger side, so basically I swapped them out, because when I swapped them out, if I do this correctly, I can't remember how they say to do these, but you're supposed to take your shock and put it up here on the top of this, or where your sway bar link bolted to, and come down to, where's it at? One of these bolts here for your bottom, for the bottom of your shock. But I was thinking, well, what if you kept this in the stock location and just used this, you know, your original lower shock mount. So I'm doing a little bit of research on that, and I have not decided what I'm going to do yet, but y'all are definitely going to see it. So we'll go over here to the other side now. My nose is running. And you can see it's the same exact thing. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put the wheels and tires back on, and where I haven't welded the perches in yet, I'm going to, get it back on its own weight, and then I'm going to set my pinion angle and then weld the perches up. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done right quick, and I'll bring y'all back. Okay, so next up, we're going to check our pinion angle. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get one of these. It's a degree finder. All right, and I checked this plate right here is parallel, or no, let me back up. It's completely perpendicular, so it's 90 degrees. I think I said that right, but I set the make sure it's good and cleaned off. All right, set it up here. Okay, and that'll it'll tell me, what the pinion angle is. All right, now I did this, I've never done this before, guys, so I could be somewhat wrong, but I stuck it on the drive shaft just to look and see, what we got here. All right. Oh. All right. Oh, this is horrible. My light's giving a glare and I won't stay put. All right. So we are at 8 degrees right there. And you're also going to want to, see if I can get up here. Oof. Man, it's a struggle. I'm telling you. Oh, I'm stuck. Oh, we're good. All right. False alarm. And you're also going to want to, well, you're probably going to have to do this one from the other side the way this thing is, but you can do it, off 90 degrees. Stick it up here on your yoke. Come out of your transfer case. You'll be able to see the numbers there. And one thing about this is this does not have a double cardan. So in theory, I'm going to test this theory. All right, I think this right here was at 3 or 4 degrees. And back there, I think I'm at 10 degrees. So there's 6 degrees difference between your pinion angle and your yoke coming out of the transfer case. Ow. Get out of here. Ugh. From what I've read, you want 4 degrees difference between your the yoke on your transfer case and your pinion. All right, but where I don't have a double cardan on this, I'm gonna try this and see how it works, and I'll do an update video. But I'm gonna point the pinion straight to the transfer case. All right, so how it is right now, turn you back around. Right here, I'm gonna try it and see what I think. See if, everything's gonna work out as it should. All right, so I just totally played myself here. I set my phone up to record me tacking these spring perches on, but it didn't take. So y'all are just gonna get the little clips of me welding the stuff on. So here we go. Remember, I never said I was a welder, even though that is my day job. All right, so I got the rear buttoned up about 95%. I have not got the shocks bolted up, but now I'll turn y'all around and show you. We have it on jack stands on the front end. We're moved into the shop, and tomorrow we're going to start tearing the front end apart. It's currently, about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. I'm ready to go in and go to bed. So I'll catch up with y'all here in a few seconds. All right, it's another day. And I'm just gonna set y'all up and I'm gonna tear into this thing. I did not have instructions with this, and there's a certain way you can go about putting the front lift on a twin traction beam front end. It makes your life a lot easier. Normally what I did was I would completely drop the whole front end out and, you know, just make sure everything's unhooked. But I was reading these instructions and I think I'm going to be able to keep most of the stuff in where it should be. So we're going to give it a whirl. All right, so starting off, you're going to want to take your lower shock bolt out, and I'm going to take my caliper out and set it up to the side. That way, if something happens, it's not going to stretch the hose, even though I've got new ones coming on the way. Take your sway bar mount off, or your link, and you probably, I don't remember, I think you can get by without disconnecting your tie rod. So, and you're going to need an 1 1/8" wrench for your nut right here. And it's pretty straightforward. You're probably going to have to, all right, back here, you're going to have to grind these rivets out. I think there's 2. Yeah, there's 2 of them right there. You have to grind those out, and or in order for you to put your drop brackets in. Ow. All right, got the nut out of here. Bottom shock's unhooked, as you've seen. Took the caliper off, disconnected that, and what you're going to do is you're going to go over to the driver's side and do the same exact thing. All right, like I was saying, same exact thing over here. I went ahead and undid the sway bar link, got that nut off, and took the nut off of the lower shock mount, and I did take the caliper out. So now what we're going to do is come around here. Should have brought my light. But we're going to drop this, what would be the driver's side axle out of this bracket. All right, it's a 21 millimeter bolt. So pull this bolt out, let it drop down, and then you're going to have 1, 2, I'm not sure. I have to count how many bolts we got in there. But take that off, put your new bracket on, and then bolt everything back in. The nut on the back side is a 21, and this one here, your bolt head, is going to be an 18. we're getting somewhere. There we go. It's out. You will be reusing the bolts that come out of this, so be sure to save them. That way you know where they're at, you know. See if we can cheat. All right. Just like that. All right, see if I can get y'all in here. All right, it's these two right here. All right, those are 21s also, and the cool thing about this is you don't have to worry about getting a wrench up in there because both of these bolts are connected to each other. So just pull your nuts out and then this will drop out. Okay. Well, I guess I'm just gonna have to hit it with my purse. Viola. There we go. Now, the fun part. I'll take my gloves off so I don't get stuff all over my hands. Now, our new pretty silver brackets going in. All right. Whoops. I'm gonna get this thing nasty and filthy anyway. Who am I kidding? So basically all I'm going to do now is get this bolted in and set my axle back in. So we got the bracket in. Oof. Only thing is I lost the bolt that goes in here. I don't know where it went, so I got to find one for that. But yeah, it was pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Now we get to move over to the fun one, which is this one right here. That's riveted in, so you're going to have to most likely grind the rivets out. Well, you're going to have to grind them out. Or if you got a air hammer with a chisel, you can go that route. But that's going to be the fun part. You can see them right there on the front. And I'll show you. That is the plate that's going on. These right here are your radius arm drop brackets, Pitman arm, and of course, you know, springs again. I just remembered that I showed you all this earlier. But, yep. Probably, I'll have to check my instructions, but I think I'm going to have to wait to put my spring in before I can put, or I think I said that backwards. I'm going to have to drop the radius arms down before I put the spring in. All right, so I'm going to get to grinding these rivets out, set y'all up, and we're going to get it done. I'm going to try to get this thing done tonight. Don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I'm going to try like heck. All right, so we got the rivets ground out. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, all these have to be ground out to get your bracket that holds the passenger side of the differential out. Okay, so next, all you're gonna do is take a chisel or, a punch, drive these 4 out, drop it down, and put your new extended drop bracket in. All right, so I got the bracket out and I've got it over here on my workbench, and I have all the rivets punched out, so we're good to go. Okay, so when I say I got them punched out, that meant that, like, I tried to punch them out with, just my punch and my hammer there. This workbench is a mess, don't mind that. But I couldn't really get anything done with just a punch, so I took my drill and drilled them out about, a third to half of the way on each one. And then, went back with the punch and the hammer and drove them out. So now I'm going to show y'all how the next bracket goes on. This is your next bracket that you're going to put on. All right. It's basically just a piece of, 5/16 plate. And what you're going to do with it is essentially you're going to set it on your factory axle pivot bracket like so. Okay. So these 4 holes down here are going to line up, and you're going to take the top 4 holes and bolt that through the engine cross member where this originally was. Okay, so when you put this plate on, there's only one side it's going to go on. It's going to be on the front side of this engine cross member, okay? So, you get your bolts in there, you get it bolted up. All right, then you're going to put your factory pivot bracket onto the bottom 4 holes, like I just said, and then put your axle back in. You can see that right there. Okay, so those are the 4 holes you're going to use to mount this bracket. Alright, so it's been a few days since I got to work on the Explorer, but I got the bolt in for the axle pivot, and I went ahead and started taking the bolts out of your radius arm mount. So you're going to have a bolt right here, one right here, and 2 right there. So I was going to originally try to just take the bolts out, but you've got your fuel filter and the housing right here. You know, you got your fuel lines and all your brake lines running up through the frame. So I decided it'd just be easier to grind them off and just go get new bolts put in it. And I started to drop the axle down. Oh, one more thing. These two right here, the nuts on the backside are connected, so you're only going to need a 15mm wrench for these two. And if you can get to this one and that one, they're 16mm on the heads out here. I think they're 17, or I think they're 17s on the backside. But I got my jack under the axle here, started lowering it down, and it's only going about that far. So what you're probably going to have to do, and what I'm going to do, is this cross member right here. You can see it's got 4 bolts in it. I'm going to make sure everything's, you know, setting on something, and I'm going to drop or take those 4 bolts out right there. That'll allow all of this to drop down so I can get my drop bracket in. Okay, so last night I did not make it very far. Lay my light down here, and I got the bolts in up top. I just got them started. I think I got them tightened up. I don't remember, but I was fighting with this right here, and what's going to have to happen is, well, it's going to have to come up. But one thing that I should, you know, I was telling you I was doing this by instructions, and it said to, you know, loosen these bolts. Well, I got the front ones completely out, and the back ones are loose. But as you can see, it's making everything want to, you know, tilt. So what I'm going to do next, okay, excuse my mess in here. All right, is I'm going to go ahead, take these bolts out here, grind these rivets out, and drop this down. That way it levels it out. And I'm going to put my other jack underneath this so it doesn't, you know, completely fall out. So that's what I'm going to do next. And hopefully we'll get both brackets in, get springs in, everything tightened up, put our shocks in and our pitman arm, and should be okay. All right, so as y'all can see, I've got this completely dropped down, and I went ahead and touched up with some paint where I grinded the rivets out, and everything's good to go. The rivets are knocked out, but right here you're going to have a spot where you have 2 bolts that go through, which are going to be, let's see, let me turn this around correctly. Yeah, it's going to be these right here. Okay, and this is going to go back up in here. Oh, you can see that I kind of got it lined up, kind of not, but you're going to use your factory hardware to bolt back into these 2 holes. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1/2-inch bolts in all 4 of these holes here. All right, and then you're going to use, you know, new bolts to go into these 2 holes, which are going to go into this right there. Seems simple enough to me. I'm probably not going to record me bolting everything back up, but it's the exact same thing on the driver's side. But that's how you do this. It is so much easier to have 2 jacks to drop the whole cross member down. I just figured that out, you know, trial and error type stuff. But I'm going to get these brackets bolted in. I'll show y'all. And then we're going to get the radius arms back in, the springs in, then the pitman arm and the shocks. And this thing's going to be done. And I'm not getting wheels. I'm just getting tires for it. Going with 33 by 1250. Did you really have to fall over? Anyway, that bracket just fell over. But that's pretty much it. And another thing is you are going to have to get an alignment. Okay? With a straight axle, you know, like a solid axle, like a Dana 44 that's in the 79 and back Ford trucks, or a Dana 60 that's in like the F350s from, you know, 2000 whatever on back until 85, 6. Anyway, you're going to have to get an alignment, and you're also going to need if I can find them real quick. What did I do with them? You're going to need camber adjustment, but here they are. Okay. Going to need these right here. These are your camber adjustment bushings. They slide in. I'll show you right quick. They go in right here where your ball joint is. What this does is this allows for your wheel to camber in or out. That way you're not wearing, you know, the outside or the inside of your tires. But that's pretty much it. It's Saturday night now. I'm running out of time. This thing's been down for a week. So I'm just going to hammer on it until I get it done. All right, y'all. The passenger side is completely buttoned up. Got my spring in here, shock in. Everything's bolted up back here. And even got the sway bar hooked up. So now I'm going to move on to the driver's side, do it, and put my pitman arm on. But first, something I want to tell y'all is when you're doing this, make sure, I'll come in here real close. Let me zoom in. There we go. Okay, you can kind of see this little tab here, okay? The end of your spring on the top part is going to slide in there. That's going to prohibit your spring from coming out if you articulate too far. All right, this right here, you can see that's exactly how it goes. You're going to have your bottom piece, which I've got the old one right here. You can see it right there. That's the bottom, okay? It's going to go just like that. All right, and your top, which is this right here, it's basically like a little cone shape. The cone is going to go up. All right, you're going to need this behemoth right here, which is 1 1/8 to turn the nut on that. So anyway, that's pretty much it. We are just about done. Like I said, I got to do the other side, and then I'm going to put the bolts back in this cross member right here, and they are slotted just a little bit, so you've got some adjustment to get everything lined up correctly. All right, y'all, we are done. Lift is completely on. We're ready to go. The only thing we got to wait on is tires and an alignment. But I think it's going to be okay to drive until the alignment comes up. There we go. So here it is. It is back on all fours. Put new stainless brake lines on. I forgot that clip. I'll have to put that in. I'll put that in here in a second. But yeah, we got the brakes bled, springs, shocks in. It looks pretty good. And I also put the new pitman arm in, as you can see. So I'm going to back this thing out, go in the house, and I'll catch up with y'all when we get tires and stuff. So this is probably the only time I'm ever going to do something like this in this vehicle, and I'm not going to beat on it, but I used to take my Jeep back through here, and the Jeep was very capable. It only had a 3-inch level and some 30 by 950s, but here's my little gulch here. See what we can do. All right, so that was just a little cruise down this trail we got here on the property, and if I turn around, it's back here. It goes, there's a trail for four-wheelers, dirt bikes, it goes all the way around the property, but this is just a little goat trail we got. Every once in a while, I'll ride down here just to see what's here. Ain't much has changed, but let's go see how this thing does on the road. As far as on-road driving characteristics go, I honestly feel like it handles the same. When I first finished the lift and I had the stock tires and didn't get it aligned yet, I will admit it was a little sketchy to drive. It felt like it had a lot of body roll, but it still felt stable. It's hard to explain, but after I got the alignment done and I got my tires put on, I literally had no issues. I was wanting to drive Scarlett back and forth to work the couple days or the couple days before I had my alignment done, but I wasn't able to because apparently we have an electrical issue yet again. Any Hoosier, I'm very pleased with this. It drives great. I mean, it rides smooth. It's just like any other first or second gen Explorer. You can feel the body sway, but it's not bad. I think the reason why it still rides the way it does is because of the spring over conversion in the rear end. I haven't drove one with actual lift springs or lift shackles, but I did this solely on a budget, and if I totaled this up correctly, I am less than $700 in the lift itself. That's, including finding my lift kit, found it used on Facebook. I have $100 in shocks just for the front. My back shocks are still good, and I was still able to reuse my factory rear shocks. Okay, the spring purchase, and I did buy new U-bolts. I have $65 in that, and I also splurged and bought the stainless steel brake lines from James Duff. I mean, they make quality parts, and I've got a good friend who restores Broncos alongside his dad. They actually have a business doing that, and all they use is Duff stuff. And from what I've heard and what I've seen, it's quality. So that's why I bought the brake lines. But when we get back here, I'm going to touch a little bit more on some of the things that I did, and that's about it, guys. I mean, after that, we'll probably be on to the next one. Come to think of it, the only issue that I've found with this is my power steering pump, and I know y'all heard that. That thing's howling like a house cat in heat. But that was getting weak and starting to whine before I did this, and I am replacing that very soon, and I might do a video on that, who knows. But we're almost back to the house. Catch y'all in a second. So here's a few of the things I wanted to show y'all. You can see right here, I've got the old shock on the front, and I've got a set of Skyjacker, I think they're Nitro 7000s to go on it. I got some real pretty neon pink shock boots to go with my real pretty aqua blue coil springs. Here are the James Duff stainless braided brake hoses. These things are nice. I would so far highly recommend them if you're looking to lift your Ford, Explorer, F-Series pickup, Bronco, whatever. I did not drop my front sway bar down. I probably will do that later, but it did hook back up. And I could either do, no, I will not extend my sway bar links, because that's just going to be asking for trouble in my opinion. So I'll probably fabricate me a block to drop this down to make it, level. And that should be that. So the second thing here is, I know throughout the video y'all see my little comments in red about the rear shock placement. I'm going to show you right now what I did. Alright, right here, you see that? That is your sway bar bracket, okay? From what I've read on forums, get rid of your rear sway bar, you run your bolt through your top hole there, and around here, well, you can't see it, but you're going to retain the factory upper shock mount. So use that. And number C, we're going to talk about my tire choice. Kind of a lame thing to talk about, but it might shed a little insight to somebody. So I decided to go with an all-terrain. These tires are very similar to the tread design that I had on my WJ. Alright, these are 33 by 1250 Nexen Roadian AT Pros. They are the RA8s. So I guess RA8 probably means really awesome 8th design, something like that. Who knows? But the tires on that Jeep, being a very similar tread pattern, they done fairly well in the wintertime. I don't go off-road or go play around like I used to, so I don't really have a need for a mud terrain. So in my opinion, these should suffice and do everything I need them to do. Literally all I'm going to do is, maybe go down, a couple back roads and ride around, or, maybe, like I said, take a trip back through that place back there. Thing I forgot to add is I said I was putting my hitch on. Well, I put it on, but I was in a time crunch and did not record that. It's real easy installation. This bolt here, right there, is already in the frame, so you're just going to have to take a 1/2-inch bit, that's what I used, and drill right there. Simple enough. So, yeah, that's about it, y'all. Well, y'all, I reckon that's going to wrap this video up. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope it was a little bit, educational. Maybe you found a little bit of humor in it. I hope you did anyway, because I just tend to ride the struggle bus 24/7. And they got me, right the very back where it's the bumpiest. But that don't bother me. It doesn't. Anyway,
I reckon I'm gonna go get this tractor fired up and drag the next thing in the shop and catch y'all on the next one. Hope y'all had a happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and or whatever you might celebrate. So, catch y'all on the next one. Let's go.